It was a bright afternoon in the heart of Rome, the kind of day when life looked ordinary, peaceful, almost beautiful. But sometimes the sun can shine on the darkest moments. Elena walked quickly through the market, her breath short, her fingers clutching a small brown purse like it held her entire world. And maybe it did. Her eyes darted between faces, cars, alleys, anywhere a threat could hide. To the strangers passing by, she was just another woman rushing through the day. But inside her chest, her heart was beating like a warning drum. She knew someone might be looking for her. Someone powerful. Someone she once loved. Elena's inner voice soft, shaky. Just one more street. One more bus, and I'll be gone. I can't let him find me. Not now. Not after what I saw. She moved faster, weaving through crowds, bumping into people, whispering hurried apologies. Her hands trembled as she checked her phone. No messages, no calls. Good. But deep down, she knew silence didn't mean safety. She turned a corner, and that's when it happened. Her purse slipped. It hit the cobblestone with a soft thud, spilling its contents across the ground. A lipstick, a folded paper, a photo, and one small, crumpled ultrasound image. For a second, time froze. Elena gasped and dropped to her knees, trying to gather everything before anyone noticed. But before she could grab the ultrasound, a shadow fell over her hands. Polished black shoes stopped inches from her fingers. A deep, steady voice cut through the market noise like a blade. Vincenzo, careful. You dropped something important. She froze. That voice, she hadn't heard it in months. She wished she never would again. Slowly, she looked up. And there he was. Vincenzo Moretti. The man who once made her heart race with love, and then made it stop with fear. The infamous mafia boss, the one everyone whispered about but never dared to cross. He stood tall in the daylight, his black suit sharp against the soft sun, his cold gray eyes locked on hers. Elena's breath caught in her throat. She tried to speak, but her voice was gone, trapped between panic and disbelief. He knelt down slowly, his movements calm, almost gentle. His hand reached toward the ground, toward the photo she'd dropped. His fingers brushed the ultrasound image. He paused, and then he turned it over. Something in his face changed. For a man who'd stared down gun barrels and bloodshed his entire life, nothing had ever shaken him like this. His hand trembled. His lips parted slightly as he stared at the tiny black and white image. A faint shadow. A heartbeat frozen in time. And the initials. EM written at the bottom corner. His voice dropped to a whisper. Vincenzo. Elena. Elena snatched the photo from his hand, stuffing it back into her purse. Her voice trembled. Elena. Stay away from me. Vincenzo. That's yours. Elena panicked. It's none of your business. She turned to run, but his hand shot out, grabbing her wrist, firm, not painful, but impossible to escape. Vincenzo quiet, intense. Whose is it, Elena? She looked him straight in the eye, the same eyes she once loved. Elena. It doesn't matter. You lost the right to ask me anything. She yanked her arm free and ran. He didn't move at first. He just stood there, staring at the empty street she'd vanished into. The purse, the ultrasound, the name. It all played back in his mind like a reel of ghosts. Then, slowly, he raised his hand, still trembling slightly, and touched the spot where her fingers had brushed his. For the first time in years, Vincenzo Moretti felt something he didn't understand. Not rage, not power, but fear. Bodyguard. Boss, you okay? Who was that woman? Vincenzo cold, clipped. Follow her. Bodyguard. Now, she's gone into the crowd. Vincenzo. I said find her. His voice snapped like thunder, echoing across the market. The shoppers froze, their chatter dying into uneasy silence. Even the birds seemed to stop mid-song. He turned the ultrasound photo over once more, memorizing every detail before sliding it into his jacket pocket. The faint outline of the baby. The initials that could only mean one thing. Narrator low, emotional. Elena's purse had dropped by accident. But what she left behind had just torn open the past. Vincenzo's inner voice, dark, calm. If that child is mine, she's not running from me. She's running from what I was. He glanced up at the sun. It burned against the skyline, a reminder that even the brightest light could expose shadows best left buried. He pulled out his phone. Vincenzo. Carlo. Check every station, every hotel, every apartment under the name Elena Marino. She was here. Carlo on phone. Boss. What if she doesn't want to be found? A pause. Vincenzo. Then she shouldn't have dropped this. He looked down again at the folded ultrasound. A single fingerprint smudged the edge. Hers. He pressed it between his fingers, ice cold and unreadable. Somewhere across the city, Elena was running through narrow alleyways, her breath ragged, tears streaking down her face. Every sound made her flinch. Every corner felt like a trap. She whispered to herself as if to stay alive. Elena, keep going. Don't stop. He can't find you. Not this time. Her hand brushed her belly. The smallest of movements inside made her gasp softly. That tiny life, the reason she had to keep running. She ducked into a cafe, blending into a crowd, hiding behind sunglasses and a trembling smile. She could still feel his eyes on her, those cold, searching eyes that once saw her as everything and then nothing. Once, they had shared a life of whispers and stolen moments, love in the shadows of danger. But when the blood spilled and the truth surfaced, she ran, and now fate had pulled them back together. All because of one dropped purse. The crowd had already moved on. The noise returned, but he didn't. He stood still, lost in thought, his jaw tight, his chest rising and falling like a man at war with himself. For years, he had ruled by fear. But in this moment, he was afraid of something far greater. The truth that maybe he had something to lose. He turned to his men. Vincenzo, keep searching. Don't rest until you find her. Bodyguard. And when we do, Vincenzo's gaze hardened. But then, for the first time, his voice cracked, softening. Vincenzo, when you find her, you tell me first. The market returned to life. But somewhere between the sunlight and the shadows, a storm had started to build, quiet, invisible, unstoppable. A woman running for her life, a man chasing ghosts of his past, and a secret, small enough to fit in a purse, powerful enough to destroy them both. The purse had dropped, but what fell out that day would change everything. And this was only the beginning. Hours after she ran, Elena was hiding in a small, crumbling apartment on the edge of town. The blinds were shut tight. Her suitcase lay open on the floor, half packed, half forgotten. She sat by the window, her hands wrapped around a cup of cold coffee, staring at the dark streets below. Every sound made her flinch, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of a passing car, the whisper of her own breath. She had been here before, not this place, but this feeling. The fear of being hunted, the fear of him. Lena's inner voice trembling, quiet. He saw it. The photo. He knows now. Oh God, he knows. She pressed a hand against her stomach, whispering to the small life growing inside her. Elena, don't worry, my love. I'll keep you safe. I swear it. But even as she said it, her voice cracked. Because promises don't stop powerful men. Across the city, in a mansion lit by gold chandeliers and silence, Vincenzo sat in his office. The ultrasound photo rested on the desk in front of him. He had looked at it for hours. The soft outline of a tiny shape that shouldn't mean anything to a man like him. And yet it did. Vincenzo quiet to himself. Elena, why didn't you tell me? He poured himself a drink, but didn't touch it. His mind was far away, lost between guilt and fury. He could still hear her voice, still see her eyes when she said, "You lost the right to ask me anything." Carlo, his right-hand man, stepped in carefully. Carlo, boss, we've checked every hotel, every bus line. She's gone. Vanished. Vincenzo, no one vanishes without a trace. Not her. She's too careful. Carlo hesitated. Carlo, maybe she doesn't want to be found. Vincenzo, maybe that's the point. Vincenzo turned his gaze on him. Cold, sharp, dangerous. Vincenzo, if she's carrying my child, I will find her. Do you understand? Carlo nodded, backing away. But before he left, he said softly, Carlo, boss, sometimes the things we love run because they're afraid of us. The door closed. The words hung in the air like smoke. Meanwhile, Elena stood beneath a flickering light, clutching her ticket in one hand and her purse in the other. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, her face pale. Every second felt like a countdown. She looked up at the schedule board, train to Florence, 6:40 a.m. That was her escape, her only chance to disappear for good. Her friend Maria arrived, a scarf wrapped tightly around her head, scanning the empty platform. Maria urgent whisper, Are you sure about this? If he finds out you're gone. Elena, he already knows, Maria. I just have to get far enough before he catches up. Maria handed her a small envelope. Maria, there's money in there. My cousin in Florence, she'll take you in. You can stay hidden until you decide what's next. Elena tried to smile but couldn't. Her lips trembled as she whispered, Elena, I used to think he could never hurt me. That behind all that darkness, there was still a heart. Maria, there is no heart in men like him, Elena. Only control. Elena looked down at her belly again, silent for a moment. Then she said softly, Elena, maybe, but I've seen the man he could have been. And that's what terrifies me most. The train screeched into the station, steam rising into the morning light. Elena took a deep breath. She felt the weight of her past pressing against her, the love, the violence, the night she wished she could forget. And now, all that remained was one step forward. She hugged Maria tightly. Elena, if I don't call, Maria, I'll know you made it. Elena sat by the window, her fingers tracing the fog on the glass. The city of Rome blurred past, the place where everything started, and maybe where everything ended. Her mind drifted back to the night she left him. The memory was sharp, painful. Vincenzo's voice echoing in anger, the sound of a gunshot in another room, blood on the marble floor. She had seen the truth that night, that the man she loved was built on violence. And she ran before she became another secret buried under his empire. Now, the baby moved again, a small flutter inside her. It brought tears to her eyes. Elena whispering, We'll start over, little one. Somewhere no one knows our names. But across the city, Vincenzo hadn't given up. He stared at a digital map glowing on his computer, travel records, surveillance footage, bus routes. Every move she made, he tried to trace. Bodyguard. Boss, we found security footage, train station, early morning. Could be her. Vincenzo's pulse quickened. He leaned closer, eyes narrowing as he saw the blurry image, her scarf, her face half hidden. Vincenzo under breath. Florence! He stood up, grabbing his coat. Bodyguard. Should I get the car? Vincenzo. No. I'll go myself. As the train raced north, Elena finally began to breathe again. The sun broke through the clouds, painting gold light across her face. For a moment, she let herself believe she was safe. She leaned her head against the window, whispering, Elena, maybe he'll just forget me. But fate has a cruel sense of timing. As the train pulled into Florence, Elena gathered her things, her heart lighter, until she stepped off the platform. She froze. Through the crowd, through the blur of faces and movement, she saw him, tall, still, watching. Vincenzo Moretti. He wasn't supposed to be there. He shouldn't have found her this fast. Her chest tightened. The world spun. Elena whispered, No, not here. She turned quickly, pushing through people, trying not to run. But his voice, deep, unmistakable, carried through the noise. Vincenzo calling out, steady. Elena. She didn't look back. Couldn't. Her heart thundered as she slipped into a taxi, slamming the door. Drive. Please, just drive. The driver looked confused but obeyed, the tires squealing as they sped away. Through the rear window, Elena caught one last glimpse. Vincenzo standing on the platform, his coat billowing in the wind, his eyes locked on hers. He didn't shout again. He didn't chase. He just watched. For a man like Vincenzo, patience was power. And as the taxi disappeared into the city, he whispered words that chilled the air around him. Vincenzo low, calm. Run if you want, Elena, but I always find what's mine. The train station grew quiet again, but in the silence, destiny had already shifted. Two hearts, one running, one chasing, bound by a secret too dangerous to stay buried. And neither of them knew that something far darker was already closing in. The woman had vanished, but her past hadn't, and soon neither would her peace. It had been 3 days since Vincenzo found the ultrasound photo. 3 days since the world he ruled with power and fear suddenly felt fragile. Now, he sat in the back of a small cafe, hidden behind tinted glass, waiting for the one man he trusted with his life. A man who knew every secret, every sin, and every ghost that followed him. His name was Luca Marino, his right-hand man. And tonight, he would hear the truth Vincenzo had never spoken aloud. Luca sitting down, curious. You look like hell, boss. I thought you said you'd quit drinking. Vincenzo dry laugh. This isn't about whiskey. It's worse. Luca. Worse than that? That's new. Pause. Rain starts softly tapping the window. For a long moment, Vincenzo said nothing. He stared at the table, at the ultrasound photo lying between them. Black and white. Small. Fragile. The kind of thing that could break a man like him in half. Luca frowned. Luca, what is that? Vincenzo slid it closer. Vincenzo, it's a reason. Luca, a reason for what? Vincenzo quietly. For everything I've done, and everything I'm about to do. Luca picked up the photo, squinting at it under the dim light. And when realization hit, his voice changed, softer now, careful. Luca, is that what I think it is? Vincenzo nodding. It's a child. Or child. Luca. Her you mean Elena? Vincenzo. Yes. Luca in disbelief. She's pregnant? Vincenzo. What are you saying? Vincenzo. I didn't know. Not until she dropped this. He takes a slow breath, his voice low and haunted. Vincenzo. I thought I lost her, Luca. But this changes everything. The cafe felt smaller suddenly, the air thick with the weight of everything unsaid. Luca leaned forward, whispering urgently. Luca! Vince, listen to me. You don't know what you're walking into. If she's out there, and you go after her, the others will notice. You'll drag her into the same world you tried to keep her out of. Vincenzo coldly. She's already in it. You think they don't know who she is? Luca. They? Vincenzo. The Santini family. They've been watching me ever since I called the truce. They want blood, Luca. And if they find out she's carrying my child, he stopped himself, his hands tightening into fists. Luca. Then what? Vincenzo through gritted teeth. They'll use her to get to me. Vincenzo stood and looked out the rain-covered window. Cars passed. Faces blurred behind umbrellas. Somewhere out there, she was alone. Scared. Maybe even being hunted. His voice was a whisper, but it carried more power than a gunshot. Vincenzo. I have to find her, Luca. Before they do. Luca hesitant. And when you do? What then? You think she'll welcome you back after everything? Vincenzo quiet, almost to himself. No, but she deserves the truth. Luca. The truth about what? Vincenzo turned, eyes dark with something between guilt and grief. Vincenzo. The truth about why I left her. 3 years ago. Elena had woken up one morning and found him gone. No warning. No goodbye. Just an empty apartment and a single white rose on her pillow. She never knew the reason. Until now. Vincenzo voiceover. It was the night of the Bernini deal. They ambushed us. 5 men, masks, no mercy. I killed 3 before the rest ran. But one got away. Pause. The sound of a heartbeat grows louder. Vincenzo. He left something behind. A phone. And on that phone was a message. Luca. What kind of message? Vincenzo grim. Orders. To take me out. To burn my house. And to kill Elena. Luca goes silent. Vincenzo lower, heavier. They wanted to make me suffer, to erase everything that made me human. I couldn't let that happen. So, I left. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I knew staying meant her death. Silence. The hum of the cafe fills the space. Luca softly. She never knew. Vincenzo shaking his head. I couldn't tell her. How do you tell someone you love that they're safer believing you stopped caring? Luca looked down at the ultrasound photo again, this tiny symbol of life, surrounded by violence and lies. And for the first time, he saw the fear in his boss's eyes. Not fear of death, but fear of losing what little light was left in his world. Luca gently. So what now? What's the plan? Vincenzo steady. I find her. I tell her the truth. And then I do what I should have done years ago. Luca. And what's that? Vincenzo. End this war. Once and for all. Vincenzo pulled it out, an unknown number flashing across the screen. He answered. Vincenzo. Who is this? Voice distorted, menacing. You should have stayed gone already. Vincenzo. Who is this? Voice. She's running. But she won't get far. Every muscle in Vincenzo's body went cold. He looked at Luca, eyes burning with panic and rage. Vincenzo. They have her. Luca alarmed. How can you be sure? Vincenzo. Because the only person who knew where she might go was Marco Santini. Luca. You mean your old friend? The one who helped you? Vincenzo cutting him off. The one who betrayed me. The name Marco Santini hung in the air like a curse. Once, they had been brothers, soldiers of the same empire. But greed turned loyalty to venom. And now, Marco held the one thing Vincenzo could never replace. Vincenzo clenching his fists. If Marco's behind this, I'll find him. Luca. And if it's a trap? Vincenzo cold. Then I'll walk right into it. He slipped the photo into his jacket pocket, close to his heart. Not as a reminder of guilt, but as a promise. He looked at Luca, who stood beside the car, worry written across his face. Luca. Boss, once you do this, there's no going back. Vincenzo quiet, firm. There hasn't been a way back for a long time. He climbed into the car, the engine growling to life. Narrator somber. As the city lights blurred by, his mind replayed every memory. Her laughter, her tears. The way she used to say his name like it still meant something. Now, every mile brought him closer to the truth, and the danger waiting for both of them. Luca threw static. Vince I tracked her. There's movement outside the old convent in Florence. Vincenzo eyes narrowing. Florence. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. The rain hit harder, lightning flashing across the windshield. Vincenzo softly to himself. Hold on, Elena. I'm coming. The road stretched before him, wet, endless, dangerous. Behind him, a life of crime and regret. Ahead of him, the only thing that ever made him human. But in the shadows, something moved, a black car following from a distance. Headlights off, silent. Vincenzo didn't see it. And by the time he did, it might already be too late. Because when you chase redemption in a world built on blood, it never comes without a cost. The storm arrived before dawn. Dark clouds crawled over Florence, swallowing the sunlight whole. And inside the old convent, Elena sat by a single candle, her hands trembling as she folded a small baby blanket. She had been there for days, hidden among the nuns who offered silence, not questions. But peace never lasts when the past knows your name. Rain begins to fall, soft at first, then heavier. Elena's eyes drifted toward the window. Every sound outside made her flinch, a footstep, a car door, a voice carried by the rain. She whispered under her breath, her voice shaking. Elena softly. He can't find me here. He can't. But in her heart, she knew he already had. Across the courtyard, a black car stopped under the shadow of the church walls. The door opened, and from the storm stepped Vincenzo Moretti, his face hard, his coat dripping with rain, his eyes fixed on the light glowing through her window. He wasn't the man the city feared tonight. He was something else, a man desperate, wounded, and afraid of the truth he might find. Music swells softly with strings. Vincenzo's inner voice steady, haunted. If she hates me, I'll live with that. But I need to know. I need to see her. Just once. He pushed open the convent gate and stepped inside. Not. Sir, you can't. Vincenzo quiet but firm. I'm not here for trouble. I'm here for her. Before she could stop him, he was gone, walking down the candlelit corridor until he reached a small wooden door. He didn't knock. He just stood there for a moment, listening to her voice on the other side. She was humming, a soft lullaby, broken by tears. He exhaled and pushed the door open. Elena shocked, whispering, "No, no, not here." Vincenzo. "Elena, please." Her hands went to her stomach, instinctively protecting the child she carried. "Elena, you shouldn't be here. This place is safe. You destroy everything you touch." Vincenzo hurt. "Quiet. I didn't come to destroy anything. I came to protect you." She laughed bitterly, tears spilling down her face. "Elena, protect me? From what? From you?" The air between them was heavy, thick with things never said. He took a step closer. She stepped back. For a moment, all they could hear was the rain beating against the glass. "Vincenzo, I'm not that man anymore." "Elena, there's no such thing as not anymore in your world. You can't wash off blood." Vincenzo soft, broken. "I tried. God help me, I tried." He lowered his voice, almost a whisper. "Vincenzo, when you left, I thought it was punishment. I thought losing you was the price I had to pay for what I'd done. But then I saw that photo." He hesitated, eyes trembling. "Vincenzo. And for the first time in my life, I felt fear." Her eyes softened for a second, just a flicker. The man standing before her was not the monster she remembered. He looked human. But then, the memories hit. The screaming, the blood, the night she ran. Elena, shaking her head. "You killed people, Vincenzo. You lied to me. You used love to hide what you were. How do I ever forgive that?" Vincenzo pleading. "You don't." "I don't want forgiveness, Elena. I just want to make sure you're safe." He moved closer, his hand trembling as he reached out to her. She didn't pull away, but she didn't move toward him either. "Elena, why now? Why care now?" He looked down, his voice cracking. "Vincenzo, because that child is everything I never deserved." Her lips parted, tears glistening. For the first time, she didn't see the boss. She saw the man beneath the mask. A car door slammed, then another. Voices, muffled but closing in fast. Vincenzo turned instantly, his instincts razor-sharp again. His hand went to his side, the outline of a gun hidden beneath his coat. Elena panicking. "What is it?" "Vincenzo, they found me." "Elena, who?" Vincenzo grim. "The ones I left behind." The convent erupted into chaos. Bullets ripped through the courtyard as shadows stormed the gate. Vincenzo pushed Elena behind the table, drawing his gun in one swift motion. Vincenzo commanding, "Stay down. Don't move." He fired 2 shots, clean and precise. A man fell outside the doorway. Elena screamed as splinters flew across the room. He moved like a man possessed, one foot in the world of violence, the other in the promise of redemption. Elena watched him fight, brutal, efficient, unstoppable. And for the first time, she saw both sides of him collide, the man who killed, and the man who once held her in his arms. When the last echo of gunfire faded, Vincenzo staggered. Blood stained his sleeve. Elena rushing to him. "You're hurt." Vincenzo breathing hard. "It's nothing. We need to move before more come." Elena. "You're bleeding, Vincenzo." Vincenzo. "I've bled before." They reached the cellar, stone walls, cold and damp. He shut the heavy door behind them, leaning against it, chest heaving. Vincenzo softly. "You were right, you know." Elena. "About what?" Vincenzo. "I destroy everything I touch. That's why I left. That's why I wanted you far from me." She stared at him, broken, furious, but unable to look away. Elena. "Then why come back?" Vincenzo quiet. Because I realized I couldn't let you face that world alone. They'll come for you too, Elena. Not because of me, but because of him. He nodded toward her stomach. Her breath hitched. Elena. No, they wouldn't. Vincenzo grinned. They already tried once. That's why I'm here. The truth hit her like a wave. The men outside weren't just hunting him. They were hunting them. She sank to the floor, shaking. He knelt beside her, his blood leaving dark stains on the stone. Elena whispered, "What do we do now?" He looked at her, the woman who once ran from him, now trapped beside him. Vincenzo, we survive. Together, if you'll let me. Her eyes filled with tears. For a moment, she believed him. For a moment, the world outside disappeared. But then, a voice echoes from above, sharp and cold. Marco Santini off screen. Well, look who found religion. Elena froze. Vincenzo's jaw tightened. He knew that voice too well. Narrator low, tense. Marco Santini, the man who had once been his brother in arms, now his greatest enemy. Marco mocking. I thought you were smarter, Vincenzo. Hiding in a church? With her? Vincenzo raising his gun. Leave her out of this. Marco chuckled. A cruel, hollow sound. Marco. Oh, I can't. Not when she's carrying your weakness. Elena gasped. Elena, you monster. Marco smiling. No, my dear. I'm just giving him what he deserves. The rain outside stopped. Time itself held its breath. Vincenzo stepped forward, placing himself between Marco and Elena. His voice was steady, cold as steel. Vincenzo, if you want me, then take me. But if you touch her, you'll never leave this place alive. Marco's smirk faded. The sound of a gunshot tore through the air. Smoke filled the cellar. The scent of blood mixed with the rain leaking through the ceiling. When the haze cleared, Marco was gone. Vincenzo collapsed to his knees, his shirt soaked red. Elena caught him before he fell completely, her cries echoing in the stone chamber. Elena sobbing. Stay with me, please. He smiled weakly, his hand trembling as he touched her face. Vincenzo fading. Save our child. His head fell back. The candlelight dimmed, and outside, sirens wailed, too far away to matter. In the quiet after the storm, one truth became clear. Bloodlines are written not in power, but in pain. And as the rain washed the blood from the streets of Florence, fate had already decided what came next. The knight was still bleeding when they found him. Vincenzo Moretti, the man once called the Devil of Florence, now lay half-conscious in a pool of rain and blood, his hand reaching for the woman he swore to protect. Beside him, Elena whispered his name, her voice cracking between tears and fear. Elena shaking him. Vincenzo, please, stay with me. You can't leave me now. His eyes fluttered open, weak but focused. And when he saw her, really saw her, the world seemed to pause. Vincenzo softly. You're safe. That's all that matters. Elena crying. Stop talking like that. You're not dying on me. He smiled faintly, blood at the corner of his lips. Vincenzo, I've been dying since the day I lost you. Outside the convent, the rain began to fall harder, washing away the gunpowder and the blood. Inside, time stood still. Elena tore a piece of her dress, pressing it to his wound. Her hands shook violently. Elena pleading, don't do this. Don't be a hero. I don't need that. I just need you. He winced but chuckled softly. Vincenzo, I used to think being a hero meant saving everyone else. Now I know it just means trying to deserve one person. Her tears fell faster, mixing with the rain on his face. Elena whispered, you already do. The door creaked open. A figure stepped into the dim light, black coat, gun in hand, face half lit by the flickering candles. Marco Santini, the enemy, the friend turned traitor, and now the executioner. Marco coldly, how touching. The great Vincenzo Moretti, brought down by his own heart. Elena stood protectively in front of Vincenzo. Her voice was shaking but fierce. Elena, stay away from him, Marco. He smirked, raising the gun slightly. Marco, You think I came for him? He steps closer. The gun shifts, now pointed at Elena's stomach. Marco cruel. I came for what he loves most. Vincenzo's eyes widened, pain replaced by pure fury. He tried to push himself up, his arm trembling. Vincenzo gritting his teeth. Don't you dare touch her. Marco mocking. You've killed so many of us, Vincenzo. Families. Brothers! You thought you could walk away clean? You don't get to have a future. Not you. Not your blood. Elena screamed as Marco cocked the gun, but before the shot rang out, a blur moved between them. Narrator sharp. Vincenzo lunged forward, his body acting before thought. A flash. A single gunshot cut through the storm. Silence. Only the echo of the shot remains. Marco stumbled back, eyes wide in shock. The bullet hadn't hit Elena. It hadn't hit Vincenzo either. He looked down, a crimson bloom spreading across his chest. Marco staggering. You shot me. From behind him, Luca lowered his smoking gun. Luca quietly. No, Marco. You shot yourself the day you betrayed him. And just like that the war ended. Not with fire, not with glory, but with silence. Luca rushed to Vincenzo's side, helping him sit upright. Elena held his hand tight, whispering his name again and again, as if saying it could keep him alive. Luca grim. You need a hospital, boss. You're losing too much blood. Vincenzo weak smile. Not your boss anymore, Luca. Luca. Don't say that. Vincenzo, you've always been more like a brother. Take care of her and the child. Elena desperate. Don't talk like this. Please. Outside, the storm was ending. A soft orange light touched the horizon, painting the clouds in gold. Vincenzo reached into his jacket pocket, his hand trembling. He pulled out the ultrasound photo, damp, crumpled, stained with blood. He placed it gently in Elena's hand. Vincenzo softly. I missed the first heartbeat. Don't let me miss the second. Her tears fell on the photo. She pressed it to her heart. Elena threw sobs. You're not going anywhere. Vincenzo, I told you once that I destroy everything I touch. But maybe this time I can build something. Through you. His voice fades, barely a whisper. Vincenzo, tell them their father tried. His hand went still. The rain stopped completely. And in that frozen moment, the man who once ruled with fear found peace in love. Elena cried out, holding him as the dawn light washed over them both. Elena sobbing. No, please, don't leave me. Not now. Not like this. But there was no answer. Only the sound of the morning birds beginning to sing. By the time the sirens arrived, it was too late. Vincenzo Moretti, the mafia boss who wanted to be a father, was gone. But his legacy wasn't built on crime anymore. It lived in the child whose heartbeat he never heard, and in the woman who refused to let his story end in blood. Elena looked down at the ultrasound photo one last time, whispering through tears. Elena, I'll tell them you were brave. I'll tell them you changed. Florence had returned to its rhythm, the sound of life echoing through the narrow streets. But in a small apartment above the market, Elena sat by the window, her hands resting on her growing belly. A single white rose sat in a vase beside her, fresh, delicate, alive. Luca visited often, checking in quietly. But he never spoke about that night. Some memories were too heavy for words. Still, every now and then, Elena would swear she felt it. A faint warmth in the air when the rain began to fall. Like he was still watching. They say redemption has a price. And for Vincenzo Moretti, the cost was his life. But in paying it, he bought something he never thought he could. A future untouched by blood. Pause. Emotional beat. And somewhere in the sound of the rain, his story still breathes. Thank you for joining this journey. A story of love, loss, and redemption born from darkness. If this story touched you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Because sometimes, even in the shadows, light finds a way back.